last time that we discussed Liver King on the show was a couple of years back when fans discovered that he was, in fact, taking steroids surreptitiously while giving health advice to his following, including eating animal organs raw. Liver King is more than a fitness influencer, though. I think he's trying to become a thought leader, a visionary, a revolutionary of sorts. And he appears to be going through a full-on mental breakdown right now, like in a public way. He has made threats against Joe Rogan, Seth Rogen, and others so far.
Do you think he just doesn't know the difference?
No, yeah, I think he's so
like Rogan.
Genuinely, I think he's so deep into a delusional, like schizophrenic breakdown that he actually doesn't know reality from fiction anymore.
Maybe it's one of those things where, like, you know, like when you look up someone's name on social media, the most famous person with that last name, he spelled Rogan wrong once, and now Seth Rogen comes up every time.
So on Monday, Liver King posted a couple of videos to his Instagram, essentially challenging Joe Rogan to a physical fight, and announced his plans to travel to Austin, Texas to square up with Rogan.
Here we go.
Man to man. This was the first of them.
Joe Rogan, I'm calling you out. My name's Liver King. Man to man.
What is going on with his belly button?
I'm picking a fight with you. Yeah.
This is scary. Why is anyone built like this?
Why is he listening to that music? That's the real question.
I have zero training in jiu-jitsu. You're a black belt. You should dismantle me. But I'm picking a fight with you. You can't pick a fight with a real king and then expect there not to be an actual fight, bro.
But he didn't pick a fight with an actual king. He didn't even pick a fight with a Liver King.
He seems to think that Joe Rogan started their beef. No pun intended. But this is entirely one-sided. I'm not even sure Joe Rogan was aware of Liver King's existence before this went down. He followed it up
I'm sure
with,
he knew exactly who. I'm sure he's talked about Liver King on his show.
We have a 20 from Don't Ask a Damn Thing. Why the ceiling bird sings is what black people say when their smoke alarm goes off.
Well, they're not calling the James Bond movie that
no.
is for sure.
Liver King also posted another challenge to Joe Rogan the same day where he was crawling up to the camera like a wild animal.
This one here.
Yeah, let's take a look.
There's a 20 before we do that.
From Ezek? Not an expert on the matter, but the Liver King's pupils and scabs on his face scream meth to me. There's a lot about this situation that screams meth. That is correct. Okay, let's watch this one.
No wonder he's in a calorie deficit.
This is insane.
Everything. Because Joe Rogan, we don't have to make videos to pretend anymore. All of this is happening. We're coming to you. I've challenged you man to man to a fight. Honorable. And we don't have to pretend or make any videos. The world is watching. They'll make the videos for us. And you don't have to hold a camera. You can hold the hand of somebody that you love, because what happens next to you, you're going to need to remember that feeling. You're going to need something more than what you did to give you something to fight for, because I have my family to fight for. And I'll die for them, you know that. And you're a black belt, but you've never come across something like this, willing to die, hoping that you'll choke me out. I pray to God, because that's a dream come true. It feels good. And then the limbs, I'm fighting for my family. So limb.
Okay, we have another 20 from Tim Hart. HGH causes internal organs to grow too. That's why his abdomen looks like that. Gross and disrespectful. I mean, I would say him displaying his body is gross and disrespectful. Me pointing out that it looks weird is not gross and disrespectful. And there's a lot that's gross and disrespectful about the content that he was posting on Monday, directed at Joe Rogan. He's saying he's ready to fight for his family, as if Joe Rogan posed some kind of threat to his family,
like,
which is
the idea here that like
unfounded.
he's got kids that listen to Joe Rogan and he thinks they're he's a bad influence on them.
I do
is
not
Joe
know.
Rogan holding his family hostage in a cellar below his studio? Maybe it's below his comedy club.
We are long past the original downfall of Liver King from 2 years back, and his ridiculous apology to his followers.
He said something about wanting to be choked out. So
he's
he's
expressing
Autoerotic asphyxiation.
Well, it seems like he has a death wish. Yeah. Okay, that's what's disturbing about it. He seems like someone who's expressing that he has nothing to lose.
I remember vaguely Joe Rogan being like, you don't look like this without steroids. Like, there's no, like, before
he got called out,
yeah,
and eventually had to admit to what he was doing. But yeah, then following the posts on Instagram earlier this week, the Austin Police Department responded to these threats and charged him without incident of terroristic threat. Now his mugshot is making the rounds, and everyone is wondering how this even started.
How old is Liver King? Do we know? I don't know how old the Liver King is. I imagine to be a king, you got to be at least a little old. Thank you. Like, you don't just become a king overnight.
Thank you, guys. He is 47. What about Joe Rogan? Are they?
He's in his 50s, right?
I mean, Liver King is just standing on business. He's just, say what you will, but he's standing on business. And he was arrested and detained, but then promptly released on bail in Texas after posting a $20,000 bond. And what followed is a mandatory mental health evaluation, as well as a restraining order. He's not allowed to be within 200 yards of Joe Rogan. However, he probably is still in Austin, Texas at the moment. And ever since he got released from jail, he's been nonstop posting on Instagram additional unhinged videos, making more threats. Barstool Sports said he is using the power of his ancestral ankle monitor to post 16 unhinged videos, and also challenged Seth Rogen to fight second.
I like the idea that he got to 15. He's like, nah, more.
Yeah, yeah. So let's take a look at the video that he posted after getting released from jail.
But Rogan versus Liver King, again, it's not what you think. I'm talking about the filmmaker, the funny, the actual genius comedian, good and true. That guy's good and true. I'll pick a funny fight with him. So we're gonna go there for that reason, but 200 yards, restrain myself I must do. If anybody, here's how we do it.
Yoda.
If anybody's last name is Rogan, and you're in the capital of Austin, Texas, like Capitol Hill stuff place, like where they make laws, like Rogan versus Liver King, where bullies that are big, that don't just do good and true, are held accountable. Yeah, that's where I'm gonna go. So if you don't mind, just don't be there for a little while, within 200 yards. Oh, how about this? If your first name starts with a J and the last name is Rogan, announce yourself.
Some guy named John Rogan is like, bro, come on.
If you're at Capitol.
He's obviously detached from reality. And we're laughing.
It seems like drugs. If it's not a psychotic break, he's doing drugs and staying up for days at a time, and
it's both.
It's
got to be
like
both. It's got to be some mix of both. People are saying this could be related to meth or LSD. He definitely talks like someone who's absolutely fried his brain with psychedelic drugs. Which isn't surprising at all.
I mean, I'm not seeing psychedelics here. I'm seeing stimulants and uppers and, maybe just to hit the gym a little bit harder. Yeah. Along with the TRT and the HGH.
Okay, who would win? 100 gorillas or one Liver King?
I mean, I think the gorillas would win. Unless, of course, he had his ancestral hat.
I don't know. I saw his gorilla run on all fours, and I'm wondering, maybe the adrenaline high.
Serial killer said dude skipped brain day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you have to make extra room for legs 3 times a week, then
like, I don't feel bad about laughing. It just is funny. It's objectively funny, but it is kind of sad because he does have a wife and children who probably are watching all of this in close quarters as he's losing his mind in real time.
Yeah, it's sad to watch. I mean,
his wife was actually in the video of his arrest, getting cuffed by the Austin police, so it seems like she traveled there with him, which I don't know, maybe she traveled there in order to just be a stable person.
This is my favorite comment. It says, steroids are a path to right-wing extremism. Why are they substances that are turning people into Nazis even legal?
What does this have to do with politics?
I have no idea.
We're just watching someone spiral into insanity. This has nothing to do with politics.
Yep.
That's bizarre that they would even say that.
I mean, that's just somebody who's got politics on the brain and doesn't know how to filter the world through any lens other than politics.
Yeah. So, I mean, Liver King had not even crossed my mind since the last time that we talked about him. And that's what most people considered to be his downfall, his fall from grace, because his followers lost trust in him. He was lying to his followers about his steroid use and giving them false advice about how to look like him. In reality, it was all a lie. And Netflix actually just put out a documentary, a retrospective on that scandal in, I think this was last month, where they were interviewing him and his family and getting the firsthand account of how that all went down. And it seems like ever since then, he's just been on a downward spiral.
The more novel version of this for him is to be like trying to fight Jamie. Don't call out Joe Rogan, call out Jamie.
If your name starts with a J and rhymes with Amy,
and you work for Joe Rogan,
and you work for someone whose name starts with a J and ends with Rogan,
put him up, and then everybody can be like, and then Jamie can be like, Joe, pull that up.
But I think Joe Rogan was alerted to these posts earlier this week and had to be the one to alert the police to it. I mean, maybe Joe Rogan should have just, squared up in the parking lot. Just put an end to this.
No way, man, because this guy died because he has a heart attack.
That's so true. The liabilities are crazy.
There's no way. So, look, this is a textbook example of also why social media fame is really bad for you.
Yeah.
Because there is a version of this, and I can't say for this one specifically, there are legit versions of this where it has nothing to do with drugs except for the drug of wanting to be famous and doing absolutely anything, your own kind of well-being be damned to get famous.
It's also interesting that he's blasting this soundtrack of dramatic music in all of his videos that he's listening to constantly. Like he thinks he's some kind of warlord from the Northman movie.
Maybe that's what it is. He saw the Northman and it's been all downhill since then.
Yeah. And I think it reminds me of...
he's like, look, I was born in the wrong generation.
You would think this wouldn't be as common because it's obviously not very common for people to go through like psychotic breaks in their lifetimes. But I've seen several examples of this in YouTubers and influencers in recent years. I mentioned Marina Joyce before we started the show. She was a YouTuber who just made videos about like makeup and fashion, and her followers slowly noticed that she was losing her mind. She was speaking in word salad, looking off into the distance and hallucinating. And later on, took a break and came back and said she got diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Yeah.
And then that also reminded me of Gabby Hanna's psychotic breakdown, her manic episode that she went through. She was on Instagram live streams almost constantly throughout the entire thing, going on religious rants, also blasting music in her videos to the point where people could barely hear her, inviting strangers into her house. And the entire time, people were just kind of dragging her and making fun of her.
Well, good thing for our audience. Apparently, it's not common, but it can happen for schizophrenia to present between 40 and 60. So I could still have my mental breakdown.
Well, it's most common in your 20s.
Yeah, I think like up to the age of 26 is like when it usually presents. But hey, I think about that sometimes. Whenever you see people, it doesn't even have to be like a psychotic break, but every once in a while, somebody that you follow goes on like a Twitter bender, where they're just kind of going off, and then it's so weird.
And you wonder, like, what's going on behind the scenes?
Yeah, it always ends up this novel thing where it just kind of stops one day and they go back to their normal life, but it is what it is.
It's just like, how can you get released from jail and then continue making threats online and not face any consequences for it?
Because
he's literally still posting threatening statements.
Because he's fighting for his family.
Now.
Because he's fighting for his family.
How are the police not able to take action on this?
He's like Dominic Toretto in the Fast and the Furious franchise. He's fighting for his family.
This was another video from Thursday. I'm here in Austin for one word, family. And he's referring to Joe Rogan as a bully who thought he was big enough to say things about a man and then tried to circulate and get more people to pile on. And he forgot about how that would affect the family. And things that weren't true were then disseminated in a movie seen by millions of people. He seems to be referring to the Netflix documentary. And I don't know, maybe there was a clip spliced in of Joe Rogan discussing the steroid scandal in the Netflix documentary. And then presumably Liver King watched it and in the midst of some kind of mental breakdown where he's detached from reality, seems to believe Joe Rogan is responsible for it.
The AI,
if he feels he was misrepresented.
Somebody could make a fantastic AI episode of Joe Rogan and Liver King that could go super hard right now. That's all I'm saying.
It's bizarre.
All
I
right.
hope that he gets help, genuinely.
Let's hope, and I hope that it's something that he can come back from, because especially if it's drugs, it's a hard thing to kick, especially if your life is kind of taking a turn for the worse. But he's married, it looks like, so maybe his wife can help him turn it around.
I hope so. I don't know. She was in that arrest video, and she didn't say anything, but I just wondered why she traveled with him.
Okay.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.